Hi guys, welcome to your 3-day challenge. My name is Bruce Chung with Yoga for Runners HQ. Today is day 1 and we're really excited to get this going. We're focusing today on a yoga sesh that is going to address the hamstrings, the hip flexors, the shoulders and chest, as well as the core. But as this is yoga, we'll always be addressing these areas anyway. So what I want to do is firstly have you guys test out your hamstring flexibility. A lot of runners, a lot of athletes do tend to, I don't want to say suffer, but experience a little bit more tightness in the hamstrings. And with that tension, it pulls down on the hip, it pulls on the knee, that can have the potential of leading to injury. So we do want to make these areas, the hamstrings, a little bit more spacious. So what we'll do is begin lying down on our backs. In fact, as you can see here, I have 2 blocks and 1 strap. I always like to have these handy. If you don't have a strap, which we will maybe need today, you can always use a towel or a belt as a substitute. So bring your body to lie down, okay, and just get comfortable. In fact, you can separate the legs, separate the arms, and just allowing the hips to relax, the palms to face up. Okay, take a moment with your eyes closed. And I just want you to focus on letting the whole of your body relax, but also connecting more closely with your breath. Okay, take a full breath in through the nose. Open the mouth, exhale. And then from here, let's open the eyes. So let your legs come together. And be a little bit active through the legs. You can flex the feet or you can point the toes. Okay, just make sure that the inner legs are pressing down into the floor. From this position, we're going to inhale and lift our right leg up. Okay, now keep your right leg completely straight and notice where it ends up. I'm going to curl my toes in. So as you might see here with myself, my right leg is just a little bit less than 90 degrees. So I would say for myself, if you're in this position, we are a little bit tighter in the hamstrings. If, however, your heel is able to stack the hip completely, then you're at, I would say, relatively normal. And then for those of you, if there's any of you runners out there, who are able to bring your thigh even closer towards the stomach so that you're actually greater than 90 degrees, then I would say that you're very flexible. Let's go ahead and release that right leg down. Relax both of your hips. You might notice already that the quadriceps have fired up. Then turn the toes in so the feet are, again, active. And then just for balance sake, we're going to inhale and lift our left leg up. Okay, I'm going to lift my head and just notice where my left leg is in space. And the same thing. It's pretty much the same angle, roughly, as the right leg. So as we move through these sessions, I also want you to be completely observant of both your right and left side because they often can be a little different from one another. Take a deep breath in, curl the toes, lift the heel, and let's start to pull the leg in a little bit closer. And then we're going to slowly lower that left leg all the way towards the floor. Okay, once that left leg touches, relax both of your hips, soften the buttocks, soften the back. Okay, from those 2 movements alone, notice how you're feeling. And then I want you to now grab your yoga strap or towel or even belt. Okay? Then we're going to take our right leg up once again. And I want you to place the strap or belt or towel around the ball of your foot. Okay, so not so much the arch or the heel, but rather the ball of the foot. Reach the right leg completely straight. Now, although you might see my leg is at about 90 degrees, I want you to keep your right leg completely straight, even if it means that it's about 60 or 70 degrees, or even less than that. Ideally focusing on the leg as straight. Take a full breath in, curl the toes towards the shin bone so that in addition to lengthening the hamstrings, we're also lengthening the calves. You're going to focus on that bottom leg for a moment, push down through the inner left thigh, and then take one more breath in. With the exhale, pull, a little bend of the elbows, your right leg towards the body. Now keep that right leg in space. I'm going to remove the strap, place it beside me, and just to keep the leg lifted without physically holding it, it starts to fire up the core. Okay, you might even bring your hands to the abdomen and notice a little bit of activation there. From here, we'll actually point the toes and then begin to lower the right leg down. I want you to stop at about 2/3 of the way. Breathe in. And as you exhale, lower the leg down so it's at a hover. And as the leg comes to a hover, maybe 2 or 3 centimeters above the mat, you may notice an even stronger connection to the core. Hold as you are, and then release. Soften both of the hips. Then the big toes come to touch. We'll do the same with our left leg reaching high. Bend the leg as you need so you're able to place the strap around the ball of the foot. Reach up. Okay? And then with that leg as straight as you can, inhaling, and exhale to pull. So the wonderful thing about yoga is that although we can oftentimes have a specific focus, so in this case, my lifted leg, we're still working from macro. So I have to be aware that my bottom leg, the right leg, is pressing into the floor, which will in fact help to bring more length and space into the front of my quadriceps, or into the quadriceps, excuse me, and into the hip flexors. But with that left leg, I'm going to bend my arms and exhale, pull even closer towards me. Now, doing my best to keep the left leg as it is, I release the strap, okay, really curling in through the toes, noticing here if you guys experience any more space or stretching behind the calf. And then from this position, I'll point the toes and start to lower that leg down about halfway, and then about 2/3, pausing there. And then bringing the leg all the way to a hover, and then once again hold. And you might feel even that stronger, sometimes there's even this slight vibration or trembling, and just know that that's positive. It shows that you're working hard. And then release the left leg down. Once the leg touches, soften both of the hips. Take a deep breath in. And then open the mouth, exhale. From here, guys, bend your knees and walk the heels towards your buttocks. Okay? So I want you to get a sense where your heels are and have them roughly below the line of the knees so that the shin bones are completely vertical. Then take the hands on the floor. In fact, I would say hold on to the edges of the yoga mat and imagine that you're actually pulling your yoga mat towards the feet. Now grounding firmly through both of your soles, take an inhale, and as you exhale, begin to curl the tailbone and lift the buttocks up. Now, although we are lifting through the pelvis, I actually want your attention to rest at the front of the thighs, again, the quadriceps, the front of the hips, the hip flexors, and see if you can feel the space that is being created there. That space can sometimes be felt as an activation through the front thighs. Hold as you are. But make sure that the knees aren't splaying out. Okay? Keep your thighs drawn in towards the midline of the body. You might imagine that you're holding a block in place so that when we are stretching, so-called stretching through the front part of the leg, it's very much focused on the center part. So there's an even balance in that opening. We're going to stay here for another moment or two and then move your attention to the back of the chest, the back of the heart, and see if you can lift it a little bit higher. Now from here, as we exhale, we'll slowly lower our spine. We'll lower down through our pelvis, the buttocks, and once that touches, please place the soles of your feet together and open your hips in something that we call supine bound angle pose. And this is a nice way to open up through the hip flexors, the inner groins, and even down the inner thighs. Now take the navel in towards the spine. We'll draw the knees together and hug them in towards the chest. Okay, reach your arms around your legs, come to hold onto the elbows, and if you're unable to reach that, grab onto the forearms. It's completely fine. When you're breathing in, think of expanding completely through the back of the body, and as you breathe out, ground nice and firmly through the tailbone. Okay, you might even notice that for myself, my sacrum, which is this triangular bone above the ridge of the buttocks, is actually lifted. But if I focus on energetically pressing it down, then I can experience more, let's say, space through the hip flexors, or in fact, there's more engagement in the hip flexors, but rather more space in the posterior hip and down the hamstrings. And then I'm going to cross my ankles, bring my hands behind my knees, and I'm going to roll all the way up. So please join me there, taking a seat. I'll place the hands in front of me and step back into tabletop pose. Okay, so you're on your hands, you're on your knees. Hands are shoulder distance apart. Knees sit directly underneath the hips. And we'll move through a few rounds of what we call cow and cat. So as I breathe in, I start to curl the chest, pulling it forward between the upper arms, lifting the navel, although the abdomen is lowering. And then exhale, pressing into the hands, rounding the back. Keep your arms completely straight. Repeating that as we breathe in, opening through the chest, looking forward, lifting the tailbone. And then exhale, rounding through our back. Draw the navel in. So just imagine that when you're running, generally speaking, keep going, breathing in. Your spine is it's in one position for the most part. So it can become a little bit stiff. So by moving through cow and cat several times, and these simple postures alone will help to bring more freedom and space into the spine, as well as focusing on opening up through the chest and shoulders, improving your breathing, improving your lung capacity, your ability to take in more breath. Let's do this cow and cat 2 more times. And after your exhalation, come to neutral, go to tabletop pose, breathe in. Point your toes with the big toes touching, open the knees wide, and sit back into child's pose. So your hips are towards the heels. Your forehead comes to rest, and your forearms come to rest. And then we're going to take about 2 more postures before I set you guys off on your run. So come back to the tabletop pose, where your wrists are below the shoulders, your knees are below the hips. But in fact, I want you to walk your hands a little bit more forward so the wrists are actually forward of the shoulders. Now, with the toes curled, begin to lift the knees, take an inhalation, and as you exhale, press your hips back and up into downward facing dog pose. Okay, so this is one of the very most commonly used postures in a yoga practice, and this is something that we'll be returning to time and time again. Make sure that the hands press nice and firmly, and in fact, we're going to bring a little bit more length into the calves, into the hamstrings. I want you to see if you can push the heels down into the floor. Even if they're not touching, again, you have to imagine that energetically, this is where you're directing the heels. Okay, take 2 more breaths. Really lift the navel into the spine. Noticing the length of each breath, make it fuller, make it longer. And as you come to the next exhalation, the end of your next exhalation, lower down onto the knees. And return to that child's pose, only this time with your knees a little bit close if you can, and sweeping the arms beside you with your palms facing up. From here, you're going to inhale, sit up straight, and then close your eyes with your hands either on your thighs or in your lap. So thanks for joining, guys. Hopefully you feel a little bit more open within your body and a little bit of strength in the core to set you on your way. Please join us for day 2, where we will move a little bit more quickly, but as well as break down the downward facing dog. Please let us know in the comments below how you felt as a result of that practice.